So, let's talk about the Madonna-Whore complex. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I probably should have talked about this concept probably a couple of years ago when I regularly argued with feminists. Um, but it always managed to rear its ugly head. But I never actually saw any feminists like really tackle it. Now those videos do exist. I watched a couple before I got on camera here. I know it's a thing. But I just remember, going in back in the day, I never really encountered very many of them just like randomly appearing on my feed, right? But it's interesting because what actually inspired me to talk about this was actually I was watching the video. I believe it was by this lady, Mahogany Pink. I've been watching a couple of her stuff, and it just kind of opened the door to this pocket dimension of black women that have such a hatred and frustration for black men, right? And I was like, ooh, I did not know that this was a thing. I don't know why I didn't think about this, but I probably, in hindsight, it does make sense for them to be a thing. I just didn't know. I could find a YouTube channel that was that personified. But she had mentioned the Madonna-Whore complex, and it got me thinking. How much validity is really in this theory, right? So what is the Madonna-Whore complex, right? Now, admittedly, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm a wee bit ignorant. I have an IQ of only 85. Don't you know? That originally when I thought of the Madonna-Whore complex, I didn't realize that Madonna referred to the historical virgin lady. I admittedly I still am not very familiar with Madonna as a concept. I thought they were talking about the singer, and which is why the concept always befuddled me, because I was like, yeah, the singer Madonna is kind of a bit of a whore, though, isn't she? Isn't that kind of her portrayal? But I don't know much about Madonna the singer either, so the concept always kind of went a little over my head. Or rather, the title. The concept made perfect sense. The concept being that these feminists or some ladies believe that we as males view women in one of two categories. A pure virgin who does not think of sex, and a whore who is so sex-filled and whatnot, right? And honestly, I just kind of look at that and say, no. No. Listen, I'm going to speak for... I'm going to do it. I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to speak for all men generally and say, no. No. It's not how we view women. It's just not. You want to know? Ladies, I'm going to be your liaison into the male mind, okay? You guys ready for this one? You want to know how we really categorize women? You guys want to really know how we categorize women? Let me explain to you how we really categorize you guys. If there is any dichotomy that exists in the mind of a male, when it comes to women, they just come close, listen really deep. This is what it is. This is the dichotomy that men really feel when it comes to women. Are you ready? Okay, so the dichotomy is, can I get her? Can I not? That's what that is, okay? If we categorize women, all right, in our minds, I'm speaking for all of us, it's, can I not? That's what that is. We are not overly concerned, okay, with women being virgins and women being whores. We're just not. Now, I know what some of you ladies were saying. I know. I can read your minds. I can see the future. I got my Sharingan activated, okay? What a lot of you ladies, if you're watching this video, are probably going to say is that you find in lots of red pill circles the clear hypocrisy that lots of these guys will say that they want virginal wives despite the fact that they spend a lot of their time training men to go have a lot of promiscuous sex. That exists. That's true and that's fair. While indeed there are men out there who will express such hypocrisy, I would say, the hypocrisy does kind of come a little bit from a different perspective, mostly from women's own mouths. Lots of women themselves will say that they feel more emotionally attached via sex, and most women more than men are going to complain about, and I don't mean to minimize it, but it's just the truth, most women more than men are going to complain about the trauma they feel from having multiple different sexual partners. It is hypocrisy to say that males should go out and have a bunch of sex with different women and women should only be with one male. In reality, most people should have a small amount of individuals they have sexual partners with, preferably one, but despite the fact that that exists, I just have to say that even those guys still probably don't view women in the dichotomy of just either being a pure, virtuous virgin and decadent whores. The truth, like with most things, is mostly a mixture somewhere in the middle. Really, what I think the phenomenon that most ladies are probably talking about or broaching the subject or scratching the surface of is men's desire for novelty in sex. And the truth of the matter is, the men that desire novelty from sex oftentimes are not the same men that want, as you would say, notches on their belt, or not the same men that want lots of sexual conquest. The men that want novelty from sex, meaning that they want the sexual encounters they have to be meaningful and they're projecting some type of intimacy in those relationships, are oftentimes, I'm going to be honest, not the same guys that pump and dump girls, because the two ideas are incongruent. You can't really simultaneously believe that your sexual experience with one woman is so natural and beautiful and wonderful and then go have sex with another woman and then do the same thing repeatedly. I mean, just literally, just physically speaking, just relating to just words and abstract concepts, if you had sex 100 times, the first experience or one experience is not special by definition. It's something that you regularly do. But if you were only able to have sex with one person instead of lots of different people, then that would, by definition, be special. You've only risked child creation, you've only been intimate, and you've only been vulnerable with one person. And based on the law of diminishing marginal value, I don't really know if there's a psychological term for this, though there might be, but again, if we're going to use it in economic terms, the law of diminishing marginal value, the more of something you accrue, the less value it has. The less of something you have, the more value it accrues. So basically, things go on sale because there's an overstock on the market. So companies or stores try to push all that stuff out. Prices for things rise up when there's less of something available in the market. Look at gas prices, right? So the point is, again, I don't know if there's like a psychological term that you could use for humans in this regard, but I'm just for now, it's going to be the diminishing marginal value, all right? Just for now, until I can find a better word, or phrase rather. So the men that want this still don't look at women in this odd frame of reference. In fact, most guys, I would feel, most guys who are switched on probably understand that once you make it out of high school, you're not going to find a virgin. Rarely. It's very, very hard to find a woman that's a virgin, which isn't to say they don't exist. It's not saying they aren't real, but usually it's a tough endeavor, right? I found a few, but again, they're more virtuous women. It's not just so much virtuous. They're oftentimes more religious. They had tighter communities. Sometimes they were homeschooled. They're not normal, all right. And it's not. I'm not saying they're not normal to imply that there's something wrong with them. It's just they're not typically women that you would have interacted with, because if they're homeschooled, you wouldn't have interacted with them if you went to public school or private school, right? Come on, right? if they were out in a rural area, right, and you grew up in a metropolitan one, it's not normal. It's not the experience you were with. So hopefully people don't get offended by the fact that I say they're not normal. It's just the reality. It's just not a typical thing that you see. And if we were to go in further deeper into it, most girls that are virgins, especially in their 20s, they're weird people. Let's just be honest. They're strange. And if there's not that they're strange, sometimes they just don't look very good as well. Sometimes they're ugly, right? There's something about it. Like a normal girl, a normal woman who has gone to public school, who went to private school, that was regularly around males, she got some dick at some point. It's just Let's just keep it as that. And we as young men all know this. Even the men that want virgins, you know, who want to be and have that novelty, that sexual novelty of only being with that one good woman, it's just not something that we're going to find. It's not something that we project. I don't think it's an expectation most young men have. I very seldom. Now, every now and again, you'll find on an incel forum somewhere, some guy saying virgin or bust. You'll find it, right? Excuse me. You know, and I think that might be the one few time when you find a male that may truly be misogynistic. And even then, I would still say, you know, it's probably hard to classify that as a misogynist if he's still looking for a woman. But you would definitely say he wouldn't have the most savory opinion of young ladies, right? Or he is very, very reductionist in his view of women. You know, and if you want to stretch the definition to misogyny, that's the only real way you could. But you know, even that, first of all, that incel is still few and far between to the male experience, to most young men. Again, most young men, they're not hypercritical of like all the different sexual partners that women have. And the men that are often the men that spend, I'm going to be honest, way too much time on the internet. Let's just be honest, you know. Any guy that even is like that, even still, you know, even if a man desires a virgin, you know, the thought process, he still isn't the final conclusion that every other woman is a whore with loose sexual morals, right? We just don't think that. We don't think that if a woman has had sex with one guy, that makes her a slut. Sure, are there some guys somewhere? Certainly, but there you never meet them in the whole of your life. If we're gonna be honest, you would have to seek that man out. You wouldn't find him walking down the street minding his own business. In the same way, you wouldn't find very many men who really come to the logical conclusion that most women are whores, unless again they spend too much time on the bloody internet. You would have to just not be able to interact with women, talk to women, see their experiences, hang around them, see strange women, see nice women, see cool. You wouldn't be able to walk away with that thought process, right? Any man that like regularly dates women, he may find himself frustrated with the way a lot of modern women conduct themselves. He may find himself disappointed, but he's not going to walk away with, oh, there are only virgins and there are only whores. Because the virginal women are just few or far between. Most young ladies have had sex at very young ages sometimes. You know, sometimes with guys that are a lot way older than they probably should even be talking to, if we're going to be honest. You know, that's just the reality of the situation. It's harder pressed. Like, once you get past 15, my friends, you know, when I was in high school, once I got up to 15, 16, it was a wrap like Christmas. It's over. It's over. You know what I'm saying? My ex-girlfriend, but here's the thing, my ex-girlfriend was a virgin, right? You know, I don't know if she is anymore. I doubt it. See, I didn't even trust her when she told me the first time, way back when. This was like years ago, you know. And she told me, and I was like, right? But the more time I talked to her, I'm gonna be honest, she was a hilariously obnoxious individual, and the more I was like, okay, yeah, you're telling the truth, because you're a really tough person to be around, right? So it's like, even if you meet a girl that is, you know, if it's not virtue, you know, if it's not, you know, she really cares about sex meaningfully, there's some character weakness in a girl that's a virgin. Honestly, by the time, like, unfortunately, like around 16, 17, right? Like, if we're just going back to high school, right? Once you get there, it's pretty much over. So to project this view that we males have on women, it's just not reasonable. Like, no man who, again, if you went to public school, if you talked to girls, if you hung around them, I remember once, I'll never forget this moment, bro. This is the most hilarious shit in the world to me. I was in Spanish class, right? I was just doing my work and whatnot, and then I heard one of the girls say something, like, whatever they said, it was way too sexually charged, right? And I looked, and I was like, and they just kept going. They were talking about all the sex they were having, like, all the different, like, in the middle of Spanish class. I'm like, you niggas, I was like, fam, we got work to do. I was in there like, bro, we got work to do. What do you guys do? I was like, you guys can save that for like lunchtime or something. Like, so to me, like growing up, you know, it's I tell that story like not to indict them, but it's like girls, they're getting the dick, you know what I'm saying? Like, for as much as women love to pretend that they're just, I can't do it, I don't want to have it, I don't want to take it, I don't want to, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, we know, like young men, we know. Like, I know I made a video where I talking about, like, women expressing their sexual interest is very bizarre to me. It's more the outward display, like, on like TikTok and on the internet, right? It's more like, it's like the mixed messaging, because like I said, you hear girls nip and nab about how men use them and men abuse them, and I know I made a little glip, but they nip and nab about it. They talk about it a lot. Now they just get used by men, and men pump and dump them and stuff like that. And then you go on TikTok and you see them jiggling their butt cheeks, and you're like, and you're like, yeah, I can see why men are pumping and dumping you, fam. And get in there with bikinis, they're showing their butt cheeks, they're clapping them and whatnot. Let's keep it a stack, right? And so that's the thing that's just so weird to me, is the fact that, like, they'll do all of that, and then on TikTok they'll talk about all the sex that they're having and do and all of the hooing and the hawing and all of that, and then it's like, but when we get intimate, you ain't got nothing to say. You know what I'm saying? It's like, then it's like you pretend that you have no sex when you feign a lack of interest in sex, and who knows what like, for this reason or that reason, But we could probably go into the reasons why. But I have to say that, like, as young men, it's like, if you talk to women, you have relations with women, right? You couldn't think of them in that dichotomy. It would just be unreasonable, because the virgin part of the Madonna-Whore complex is null and void. We don't find virgins. We don't see them, right? Like, they're very few and far between, and when they do show up, they're weird people, like, and they're just odd individuals, which isn't bad. Again, I understand there's negative context of being weird and odd, but they're just not typical women. So to me, I always found it a little odd that was even something projected onto us as young men. That was even a thing that women believed we as young men feel, and we as young men think. Like I said, the real dichotomy, if there is one, if men really aren't viewing women complexly, or if men really are boiling women down to the reality of the situations, right? Like, if we were to factor out, like, incels and the red pill, like, the more normal guys, it's more like, can I date the woman or can I not date the woman? It's more, the more intellectualizing and generalizing men do, right? Again, that's when we bring back in the incels and bring back in the red pillars, right? And bring back in all the black pillars and stuff. That's when you get the closest. That's when you can get the closest to a group of men, or men generally, that may believe in the Madonna-Whore complex, or may actually view women in this manner of they have to be a virgin. That's the only way they're gonna, like, bond to you, basically. They're soul bond to you if you take their virginity. Which there's a wee bit of truth to that. Women definitely, usually, it's not always, but they usually have a stronger tie to the first person they have sex with. Once again, diminishing law of marginal value. Than the 12th guy they have sex with. Like, usually, can you find a girl who's like, I had sex with 11 guys, and my husband, who's number 12, I love him so much, and I just want his dick all the time? Sure, fine, sure. I'm not gonna put it, like, sure, you can. Psychology is complex, right? But realistically, generally, you're not gonna find that generally. Especially with, like, younger when women have lots of sex. Generally, the sexual experience means less. The next partner they have means less. They don't care. They're not bonded to them. They don't have the same ties than they did the first guy or the previous guy. It's just the reality. I didn't make it this way. I just recognize patterns, and we have to accept that, right? And so any man. Most guys, if you're a man and you haven't accepted it, you have to accept it, right? Because, again, anything, and sexuality, it's not special in this regard. If you eat the same type of Pop-Tart, the same type of pizza, the same type of cuisine, chicken Alfredo all the time, it's not gonna matter that much to you because you eat it all the time. It's not special, right? If you as a young lady, and this is why a lot of young ladies do have part of the hopscotching with sexuality that women have is the fact that they are bombarded by male thirst more often than males, are bombarded by female thirst. And by female, I don't mean like women, again, shaking their butt cheeks on the internet for validation, but I mean like a woman saying, I want you, like throwing themselves at them. Most young males will go their whole lives without ever experiencing that, even from their wives. Legitimately, even from their wives. Most young males will go their whole lives without ever touching that, right? It's just, I'm going to be honest, like a good, maybe not most, but a good 45% of men will die without experiencing female thirst. This is unfortunate, right? But that's how it is, for one reason or another, right? Or what will happen is like the woman will blast them with sexuality early in the relationship, then she cuts it off when they get married or something like that. This happens very often, right? So which again, you cannot have sexless marriages like that and believe that men look into the Madonna-Whore complex. It would be unreasonable that somehow males would have lots of different sex prior to marriage and then at the beginning of a marriage, believing that this woman is a whore. Why did he marry her then? Why does she stop having sex with him if he's still providing money? Obviously, he's not thinking she's a whore, But then more than that, you would also have to factor in the new breed of men, right? And I call these men the new breed, right? This new breed of very effeminate males, of very soft, passive males who will date OnlyFans girls, right? Who will have relationships with prostitutes, right? Who will be fine with the Twitch thought, who's on Twitch, entertaining lots. The new breed of man who accepts the lady he's with, entertaining other men sexually, right? Whether it be virtual or even they always say they cut the line at physical, but I mean, it's all the same. I'm going to be honest with you. It's spiritually the same, right? It's like, well, I don't actually have sex with the guy, so it's okay. No, it's not okay, but we'll talk about that some other time. Again, the new breed of male, but the great example of the new breed of male is it shows again, men cannot be viewing women in a Madonna-Whore complex dichotomy if they are willing to make concessions of dating women who are literally whores. unless you would then conclude that males do not care for the whoredom of women, you would have to conclude that there are some males who would look into this dichotomy, is that they prefer whoredom. They want the lady to parade herself around for other men. They want the woman to feign sexual interest in other men. They want to. And you want to know something? Some of them do, because it makes them feel good. It validates them because they're able to have sex with a woman that other guys want. It does make them feel good about themselves. That's part of the validation machine that those men find themselves in, that they receive the hot girl that everyone else desires. That's absolutely the case, right? And so, if you looked at the Madonna-Whore complex, you would say, as that dichotomy, you would have to come to a realization that in truth, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because when you have the new breed of man who's willing to be with whores, what difference does it make if that's their dichotomy they look at? They still commit to relationships with these women. If you look at it as men only wish to be with virgins, that the virgin or the one type of woman is the only one they want relationships with, why would they make concessions for the fact that she's had previous sexual partners? How could you truly realistically even find or demand virginal status in women if that be the case? You couldn't, realistically. The new breed can't exist. Most marriages, most relationships cannot exist. They just can't exist if men literally or even closely viewed women in this dichotomy, because most women are not going to be virgins. Most women are going to have some more, not even just some, a lot more, especially in our day and age, a lot more sexual experience than men. Men cannot possibly be viewing women in this dichotomy. And again, the closest you find are men who are far more intellectual and men who wish for novelty. And even then, the men who wish for novelty in sexual experiences and having sex with virginal women and having sex with them and being in those marriages and those relationships, where are you going to find them? They're usually also going to be in the same rural area. They're also probably going to be homeschooled. They're also probably going to be Christian, maybe Mormon. They're also going to be, and they're going to find those women, and they're going to be stuck in that tight little knit community, and they're going to have a grand old time. That's usually what's going to happen. But in metropolitan areas, in areas where there's just a lot of dating and whatnot, it would be absurd and unreasonable for men to view women in such a regard, and just the practicality, just the practice of just being a man, talking to other men, being around young men. I can tell you guys with certainty, with 100% certainty, take it from me, we do not look at women like that. The true dichotomy, if there's any dichotomy, it's this. Can I get the woman? Can I not get the woman? And that's the line. If I feel like I can get the woman, I will deal with what comes. If I feel like I can't get the woman, I'm gonna leave it alone. If there was any male dichotomy on how we view women, that's what that would be. And so as a young lady, you still wouldn't be able to even apply the Madonna-Whore complex there. You couldn't even say, well, obviously the woman you believe you can get would be the virgin. Well, not necessarily. Sometimes you think you can get her because she's promiscuous. Sometimes you think you can get her because she's not promiscuous and you have ideals that align with hers. So even then, it still would not factor in. It still wouldn't be what we're thinking of. So it just, to me, I can understand the Madonna-Whore complex on the surface. I can understand that a woman would believe that men view her that way. Why? Because she's probably been pumped and dumped before, right? Smashed and dashed. She probably has had experiences, right, where she met guys who she friend-zoned, even if she wouldn't admit it. You know, maybe she won't say it out loud, but she's had the guys who stuck there, and then she's had the guys, right, who had sex with her and left. So she's seeing, this guy, he's still here, he's still giving me stuff, and then they're saying, well, this guy left, and then they're like, okay, so one guy thinks that I'm a whore, one guy thinks that, you know, I'm a virgin since I'm not discussing sex with him, or he believes I'm more pure. I could see on the surface they would believe that, but if they actually genuinely talk to men, if they listen to men, they would find this is not how we perceive women. It's ludicrous. It's absurd. And I feel like, you know, the concept only really exists to demonize men and to make men seem... I honestly think, and this is one of the most important things I say for the end, this really, more than anything else, is more of a projection of what young women are doing than it is what young men are doing. Because it's young women that lock men in the friend zone, usually, right? It's young women that have categories of men that have backup plans. It's young women typically that have guys they friend zone, they put in the guys they don't want to date, and then they have the guy they really explore their options with. It's usually women that have that line, that dichotomy of nice guys and F-boys. It's really the women that are showing, and they're showing us this. This isn't even me conjecture. I've seen it. I've talked to women. I've talked about it. Usually, you have the girls who will have the friend zone guy. They'll have the guy. He's my friend. He's my buddy. He's my pal. He'll act like he'll do everything a boyfriend will do, right? And then they have the guy that they're really pining after, the guy they really want. We've all seen it. This is tales all the time. We all know it. But that's where the funny thing comes from, right? Because we can see that it is women who actually have, ironically, this Madonna-Whore complex, right? It's young ladies that are actually having a category of males who are good and friends, but ain't really turning them on, right? And then it's the F-boys they know are toxic and bad, but they're the ones that get the wops flowing. A little ironic, don't you think? But I guess we'll have to talk about that some other time. With that being said, I certainly hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, man, you know, go ahead and click the like button. Yeah, shoot. Go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.